I'm Daryl Jones, Director of Research at Hedgeye. I'm joined with JT Taylor from our Washington office, and we're here to discuss the election season. This is Washington to Wall Street. First question, JT, is related to the Libertarian Party. They've been drawing a lot of attention recently. In part, it's because both Trump and Clinton, aren't overly popular. Do you think a third-party candidate in particular may come back and bite Trump?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a third-party candidacy, whether it's Libertarian or another conservative challenge, definitely poses a threat to Trump's candidacy. Right now, polls are showing that he's pulling from both Trump and Clinton, but at the end of the day, I think he'll definitely pull more from Trump. I mean, if you look at the Libertarian platform, there's clear overlap with the Republican platform. More so than on the Democratic side. So you can expect him to, again, draw more blood from Trump at the end of the day.
So, we have seen some endorsements of Trump. I think Rubio, Carson, Christie, Rubio to some extent, they've been sort of lining up behind Trump despite, the very acrimonious primary. What do you think happens to the people that actually haven't, really lined up behind Trump yet? Cruz, Bush, others. Do they potentially endorse Gary Johnson?
Yeah, there's a chance that they endorse Johnson, but I think there's still a window open for yet another independent candidate that conservatives will mount. And I think there's talk of a guy by the name of David French who may enter the fray. And I think some of those types might end up supporting French at the end of the day, or yet someone else. But again, we've talked about this before, Daryl, but time is running out for a third-party candidate. On the Libertarian side, Libertarians have 32 states already that are qualified to be on the ballot in the fall, 52 out of 50. A conservative challenge will need a lot of money, a lot of effort to qualify on those ballots for the fall. So they've got a real challenge ahead of them.
JT, just for the folks that might not be familiar with David French, could you give us a little bit of color on his background?
Yeah, David French is an editor at the Weekly Standard as well as the National Review, two conservative publications here in Washington. He's an Iraqi war vet. He also worked on the evangelical vote, gathering evangelical votes for Romney in 2012. So he's got conservative credentials, but in my opinion, he just doesn't have much of a following or a name for that matter.
Gotcha. So practically speaking, he's probably not going to make a dent in the race if he can even get in. So flipping back to Gary Johnson, he's running about 10% in some polls. What do you think he needs to do to really, potentially get on the debate stage, which number one would get him a lot of, national recognition and interest?
Yeah, first and foremost, as you alluded to, Daryl, he's pulling at 10%, which is early days right now. You need 15% in polling to qualify for the debate stage against the likely Republican and Democratic nominees. He'll need to raise money. I mean, he just got an infusion of $1 million in cash this week into a super PAC. So that super PAC will infuse money into an ad campaign that helps raise Johnson's visibility. So he'll just need to, again, it's been 1 week. 10% is not a bad number to start out of the gate with. But again, he'll need money and some semblance of an organization in the 50 states to get his name and his numbers up, his name recognition and his numbers up.
So just hitting on the money question before we wrap up here, do you think he can steal some of the sort of legacy core Republican donors? I mean, obviously there are a lot of them that have expressed disinterest with Trump. We have Mitt Romney, who at one time was the nominee, who has been very vociferous against Trump. Could these folks rally some of the big Republican donors and have them potentially donate to Gary Johnson's campaign?
Yeah, that's questionable right now. I think they're going to still wait for this conservative challenge, if you will, whether it's David French or someone else. That's where, whether it's Johnson or Trump, that's where they could feel a little bit of the pain from the conservatives if conservatives do decide and donors do decide to support this so-called conservative challenger. But until then, I think French can grab some of the money and some of the funding from the Republican side of the aisle, and again end up being formidable at the end of the day.
Great. Well, just
formidable in the sense that that it will take away from Trump. I don't think that the Libertarian candidate or the party Johnson has a chance at winning this fall, but he or she will be a spoiler.
Gotcha. So yeah, just to summarize, we definitely, although Gary Johnson or Libertarian Party candidate, we don't believe can win. We do think they're going to have a very serious impact potentially on Trump's campaign, and that's probably something people really aren't discounting into the polls at the moment. So thanks again for tuning in to Washington to Wall Street.